Hello and welcome to Self-Evident Truth with Grumpy Old Vet, me, episode 11. Something I want to talk about. Um, you know, Taxes are uh, they're they are a necessary evil. A certain amount of taxes, but just like government needs to be the certain amount of government. Too much government is tyranny. Too little government is anarchy. Taxes have to be balanced as well. Too little government, too little tax uh, creates a government that cannot do the things that government has an obligation to do. But too much tax makes a government tyrannical, and it steals from the people, and it becomes theft at a certain point. And so it's always important to make sure that the taxes are balanced proper. That the taxes that are being paid are specifically for government to do those few and defined obligations that they have to do, not take on every project and do everything for everyone. Remember, a government big enough to give you everything you want is big enough to take away everything you own. And that's exactly what will happen. Don't ever forget what Benjamin Franklin said. Uh, a, uh, any person who's willing to give up essential liberty for supposed security deserves neither and will have neither. So I want to talk a little bit about the County Board of Commissioners. Now, isn't it odd that they have their meetings on a Tuesday at 9 o'clock in the morning? Very few people that are working can be at those meetings. Um, as of late, they've been recording them, but still, a working man or a working woman does not really have the time to take time off work to go in to have their voice be heard. And 90% of keeping your liberty is showing up and being at those meetings and being able to be a part of your own self-governance and to hold the elected officials that are your employee to do the things that they are supposed to do. I mean, let's face it, uh, as a public, as a republic, we've been horrible bosses. We elect these people to be our servants, to be our elected officials, to be our employees, and we're horrible bosses. We don't supervise our employees close enough, and that's bad in any business, and it's bad in the business of government as well. So I kind of want to direct everybody to uh, the Board of Commissioners meeting on May 23rd. Now, in that meeting, they had under item 10, under Brent Leininger, Budget Committee Report, 10.1 says Resolution 23-088, Tentative Tax Levy, Headley Rollback Computations, PDF. And then on 2023 Millage Reduction Fraction Calculations Worksheet, PDF, L4-4029 PDF. And then right after 10.1 comes 10.2, Resolution 23-089, Set Truth and Taxation Hearing. Okay. Now, the Resolution 23-088 would have to be passed first before Resolution 23-089 could even exist. But yet here they are on the same agenda, 10.1 and 10.2, underneath Brent Leininger's Budget Committee report. Well, let's go to Resolution 23-089. And it says, to the Honorable Board of Commissioners, we recommend adoption of the following resolution. Whereas the Board of Commissioners has passed Resolution 23-088 to tentatively levy an additional 0.4258 mils for the tax year 2023. And, okay, now wait a minute. Whoa. How can it be on the same agenda? Resolution 23-088, which is voting to raise the tax, and then Resolution 23-089, a resolution to hold a public hearing on the tax. How did they know? How did Brent know that Resolution 23-088 was going to be passed at that meeting for them to have 10.2 Resolution 23-089? It's kind of odd. See, the Open Meetings Act, which was created so that government would be transparent to the people they're taking money from, the people that are their employer, their bosses. The Open Meetings Act was created so that everything has to be done in the public purview, so that there can't be any behind the scenes deals or votes taken. We have to see what they're talking about. We have to see what their actions are. We have to see what their vote is. So how did Brent know that he was going to get at least 3 out of 5 commissioners' yays on Resolution 23-088? No, I don't have any proof of anything, but logic would say that obviously he was pretty confident that he wrote a Resolution 23-089 that basically says, whereas the Board of Commissioners has passed Resolution 23-088, how'd he know that was going to pass? Well, that's quite odd. See, they're not supposed to be talking to each other outside of the county board meetings. They're not supposed to be testing the vote. I know Ruth Brown told me one time, well, I don't call them LOA, I'll call individual and ask them, what they think about a certain thing, or, how they're feeling about a certain subject that's on the agenda. No. Sorry. No. There's not supposed to be emails back and forth. There's not supposed to be telephone conversations back and forth. There's not supposed to be secret meetings. In fact, the OMA says that if a quorum, which would be 3 out of the 5, meet at any point in time outside of the public purview of a commissioner's meeting, as long as it is for a different function and as long as they are not conversing about county government business, then they haven't broke the law. But if they do converse county business, then it is a violation, because it has to be done. All the business, especially something as serious as raising taxes, needs to be done in front of the public. It has to be transparent. We have to know when we're being stolen from through taxes. But basically, in this horrible economy, and don't forget, Mark Wiley during 2020, with his wife working at the hospital, declared himself to be the chief executive officer of the county, which he is not under Article 2 of the Constitution. He's not an executive officer. He falls under Article 1 of the Constitution. He's a legislative officer, a county legislative officer. He doesn't have the authority to close Hillsdale County down, but he did. Told businesses that they couldn't do things. Seemed like he was more following Whitmer than the Constitution. Who did he take an oath to, the Constitution or Whitmer? So, and incidentally, he told his neighbor that he just hangs his hat on the Republican Party. What's that even mean? Does that mean that he's not a Republican? That he only runs as a Republican because that's the only way you can get elected in Hillsdale is to say you're a Republican? See, this is what part of the lawsuit's all about between the two factions. The America First faction of true conservatives and the anti-Trump faction of neoconservatives that have no problem practicing Trotsky socialism. How did Brent know the resolution 23-088 was going to pass? Now, here's the other part I have a problem with. Remember how they have the meetings at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday morning so that working men and women cannot come and be present or part of their governance or to supervise their employees? Let's just read all of Resolution 23-089. To the Honorable Board of Commissioners, so you're honorable just to be elected, we recommend adoption of the following resolution. Whereas the Board of Commissioners has passed Resolution 23-088 to tentatively levy an additional 0.4258 mills for the tax year 2023, and whereas Act 5, Public Acts of Michigan, 1982, provides that the Board of Commissioners may approve the levy of an additional millage rate within the present legally authorized millage rate only after providing certain notice to the public and holding a public hearing for the purpose of receiving testimony and discussing the levy of an additional millage rate for the ensuing fiscal year. Now, therefore, be it resolved that 1. A public hearing shall be held on June 13th, 2023, at 10 a.m. at the Hillsdale County Office Building, Board of Commissioners Conference Room 210, Hillsdale, Michigan, for the purpose of receiving testimony and discussing the levy of an additional millage rate for the 2023 tax year, revenue for 2023 and 2024 fiscal year. The county treasurer is hereby directed to publish notice for such hearing, said notice to be in a form meeting the requirement of said Act 5 in the Hillsdale Daily News. The notice shall be published and not less than 6 days before the public hearing. Respectfully submitted, Brett A. Leininger, Chair of the Budget Committee. Now, we're closing into one of the worst recessions because of the outlandish and out of control spending of our federal government. And the printing press is printing more and more fiat money, which creates inflation, which creates each dollar to be worth less, which basically steals from every person. We're in a recession like that, and the county board wants to take more money from us. Wouldn't it be amazing if they just managed the money that they received? that they would spend it wisely rather than frivolously and foolishly. How much has our county paid in ridiculous lawsuits that could have been prevented? The unfortunate accident that Officer Wes Ludeker was in, going to a domestic disturbance in Reading and running the stop sign at the corner of Bear Lake and Hillsdale Road. No lights, no siren. Hitting another vehicle, a minivan, injuring that person. And Officer Wes Ludeker was injured horribly bad. And I don't wish that to happen to anyone. But that accident, which could have been preventable, just the workman's comp cost us $500,000. Cost the taxpayers $500,000. That was our portion. Now we didn't have the $500,000. That's a $500,000. That's a $500,000, y'all. That's a $500,000 that accident cost us, and it was totally and completely preventable. I understand the need to roll up silent on domestic disturbances. I understand the safety concern of that. However, if public safety is your job, are you honestly going to tell me that the public disturbance in Reading would have heard a siren or saw the lights at the corner of Bear Lake and Hillsdale Road? Come on. Realistically, is that the argument that we're going to have? No. That I can't accept. So lights and sirens should have been used to a certain point, and then the speed should have slowed down to the normal traffic speed and proceeded to the address that they were headed to. Plain and simple. That's the way that should have happened. And had it been done that way, we could have avoided a $500,000 bill. Now, that was caused from bad training and bad leadership, not from bad officers. It was bad leadership, bad training. It had been brought up to the Sheriff Parker, before then, that practice needed to be reviewed and reassessed and retaught. That if a county car was going to be traveling over the speed limit and needing to not abide by traffic signs, that there needed to be audio and visual warning to the public on the street. And then at such time that they could follow the traffic laws, then that visual and audio wasn't necessary. That needed to be revisited, and it didn't get done. Been complained about quite a few times, twice by myself. That accident cost us $500,000. How much is the lawsuit going to cost us? See, the county's been sued quite a few times. Quite a few times it's been because of our criminal justice system. And what has our County Board of Commissioners done? See, they have the power of the purse. They hold the purse strings. They have the power of the purse strings for a reason. That's because we, the employers, haven't. We need to know what our money is being spent on. Now, Mark Wiley has a horrible, horrible habit of not letting the public know when they're being sued. He doesn't have to get into the details of the case. People can go look that up on Pacer or any of the other court websites that are there, because those cases are public knowledge. So he doesn't have to get into the details of it. But he does have to tell the public enough that they are being sued and who the parties to the case are, so that we, the employers, we, the people that are on the paying end of all of those, can look them up and find out what's going on. See, this is part of what controls our vote every 2 years, that now they want to change to 4 years because they think it's important that they get 4 years in those offices instead of 2. But they're legislative, so they should be 2 years. They need to be the most responsive to the public. And as we see now, they're not responsive to the public. They're not open to the public. They're not transparent to the public. They're their own little kingdom. They hold their meetings at 9 o'clock so that they can do whatever they want to without their bosses showing up. Now, when that was brought up, they said, well, we tried that once. We had one evening meeting and nobody showed up. Okay, well, you were complaining that you have morning meetings and nobody shows up. So what was the difference? Why not have one Tuesday, a morning meeting, one Tuesday, an evening meeting? That seems legitimate, because then at least if you've provided an opportunity for people to come, just like in the morning, if they don't, then at least the opportunity was there. But you see, I think they like to have it in the morning where they can just kind of do things without people showing up. Isn't it much easier to be at work when your boss isn't there, when nobody's looking over your shoulder? But the business always pays for it. That's why it's good to have good leadership. It's good to have good leadership in business. You know, look at Bud Light. When you have the wrong person doing the wrong job, bad things can happen. When the bosses aren't paying attention to what people are doing, the company could lose $27 billion. Well, how much has Hillsdale County lost? Because things aren't being done in the public purview. Because it's done at a time where only people without jobs or people that are unemployed or underemployed or CIs can show up for county board meetings. I think they need to be more transparent. It's pretty bad when people file FOIAs and they have to go to Mark Wiley and he summarily dismisses all of them, hoping that they're not going to get sued. But then when they do get sued, that they've got their friends in the criminal justice system to make sure that goes away. So when is the county going to be transparent to we the people? I mean, after all, they're asking us to raise their wages. They're asking us to raise the amount of money that they get to play with. They get to raise the amount of money that we have to pay them. And for what? Are they doing just the enumerated things that they're supposed to do? Or have they taken on much more? Are we paying for unfunded liabilities? I mean, after all, just in the sheriff's department retirement account, we were $2 million behind. So we were going to have to pay an extra $200,000 over the next 10 years, along with that $500,000 that accident on the corner of Bear Lake and Hillsdale would cost us, on top of all the other lawsuits that come out of those bad behaviors without having any restriction to correct those behaviors. And yet we, the taxpayers, are stuck holding the bill. Wouldn't it be nice if Monday morning you could just show up to work and tell the boss, hey, you know what? I overspent this year and I'd really like to take my wife on a lavish vacation, and I need a new motor for my boat, so you're going to have to pay me a couple more dollars an hour. And I've decided that. What do you think your boss is going to say? Yeah, right. Or you decide to get together with all the other employees without the boss there, and you all decide that you need $2 more an hour, and then you hold a meeting where the boss can come in and talk about his displeasure about paying you $2 more an hour, but you hold it at a time that the boss can't be there. And then it just goes in, and then you just hold your boss to it that he has to pay everybody $2 more an hour. How do you think that's going to go over? It's not. Look, just basic common sense. It's self-evident truth. Huh. That's what these videos are all about. So ask yourselves that. How did Brent know that Resolution 23-088 was going to pass? To have it as 10.1 and 10.2 on the agenda for the 23rd of May. Why are they holding a meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning? Why not hold two meetings? If you truly want to hear what the taxpayers have to say, then why make people have to take time off work to tell you what they think about it? I mean, you're already asking to take more money from them. Why should they lose more work to tell you no? Oh, that's right. Because too many of them might show up and say no. Mm-hmm. Yep. Let that sink in. Think about that. Why not try FOIA-ing it? Turn in a FOIA. See what they have to say. Or better yet, see what they have to deny. So that's it for episode 11. Something to think about. Self-evident truth with me, Grumpy Old Vet. Look forward to this week. Live, love, laugh, but keep your republic. Have a good night.